thanks so much for coming out, guys. I know we had
Thank you.
we were here for an ANRAD Conservation Commission hearing just a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
seen a lot of familiar faces. So I understand that there's a few questions about
I'll take one.
our proposed
Thank you.
project on
Well, that's okay.
Police Street.
Thank you.
So we were thinking about just hosting sort of an informal meeting here where everyone could gather, no real time constraints or anything that we typically would have at a just for people to voice questions, and we can give a little bit of background about the project and about who we are. So to start things off, my name is Matt Farlon. I'm with BlueWave Solar. I'm here with my associate, Jackie First.
Hi, everyone.
There's also Jeff Murphy who deals in Thomas. There are civil engineers. They've been doing a lot of the design on this project, helping us out with reducing the concepts. And lastly, we have our environmental and agricultural consultant. One key aspect of this project is that the intent is to continue agricultural use under the array. It's sort of a new concept that's been progressing in Massachusetts, and we've been doing a lot of work alongside to progress that movement. So BlueWave has been developing projects for the last 8 years in Massachusetts. This is some extra information just about B Corp values. Being a B Corp is simply a company that sort of practices what it preaches in terms of environmental benefit. There's a whole host of examples along our website, but really it's going into, we want to get into things early and understand what the needs are. In previous projects, some of the things we've done is we've worked out different sort of tax structures with towns, just to find if there's immediate needs such as infrastructure replacement or an extra teacher or something like that. What we do is we'll sometimes shift tax structures to help accommodate that immediate need. Other times we've found extra uses for products on our sites like chunks of boulder and put those towards coastal restoration projects. So I'm really happy that you all came out here tonight because a big part of this is getting a better sense of understanding what people's concerns are so that we can really use this project to help as much as we can. I'd like to thank our neighbors from Sutton. Just we were walking the site earlier today along the eastern edge to understand some of the concerns from the hydro side of things. And I think we're able to really find a lot of good ways that we can collaborate and solve the problems that are there today. Just going into what we've done in the history of our 8 years, we've developed 130 megawatts across the state. We've been almost exclusively in Massachusetts, expanding to new markets, but this is really our home for Boston-based. A lot of us were born and raised here, so that's where the vast majority of our work is. And it's just some equivalency supplied as far as what that means in terms of environmental benefit, the energy that we've been able to put on the grid. Lastly, we're also a community solar company, and this project is intended to be a community solar project, which means everyone that is on National Grid is eligible to participate and purchase energy at a discounted rate. It's part of the SMART program, which is a Massachusetts incentive structure for solar that we like to participate in, and we think it gets the community a little bit more involved and have a better stake in the project. So what and why dual use? So dual use was introduced to us just a few years back, and we've been sort of working through its infancy alongside consultants such as Ian to establish a means by which we can combat the fact that a lot of farms in Massachusetts are getting beat out for either subdivision and real estate development, or just larger farms are outcompeting them and dropping the price of agricultural goods to the point where it's not sustainable. Sometimes before the dual use concept arose, one of the solutions we offered was we can lease a portion of your farm, put it into solar production, and then the lease revenue can support the remainder of your farm. We've had several successful projects in Grafton, in Westport, where farms have really been able to progress because they have that consistent income stream. Dual use is a little bit of a different approach where it doesn't take any land out of active agriculture. We raise the panels up and we spread them out, and that allows current agricultural practice to continue and in many cases flourish because it provides that stable upstream and infrastructure that was formerly holding back the operation. And BlueWave is a concept that is it's open in the SMART program. There are other developers that are interested in it, but BlueWave in particular, in my time here, has really been it's been a very hard focus on BlueWave. We've been working with the Department of Agriculture as they've been developing this program themselves. They have questions and trying to figure it out.
You want to do this, but you might do better.
I appreciate it, but is anyone having trouble here?
Are you having trouble?
No,
You
I
think
think it's a little light. If you want to use it, you can, but up to you.
This is fine, thank you.
Okay.
Well, that'll make it better for the teeth.
For the
You got this on the.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, sure. How's that? All right.
I don't think it's on.
Is that working?
Try it one more time.
How's that?
That's what I did. There we go. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So our primary focus in Duluth has just been that the Department of Agriculture came out and they said, we want to make this work, and we need people who specialize in solar to sort of bring that other side to the table. We're the best at agriculture, but we don't know solar as well. That's where BlueWave stepped up, and part of what we helped them establish was the now industry standard tool to evaluate how to better understand the shading implications of different array configurations. What we like to do is understand the specific type of crop that's growing, and we can use our shading analysis tool to sort of custom build a design that best works with the existing practice and can allow them to continue without really being stifled in any way by the solar. So this idea, just as you can see, there's a couple examples of it gaining traction throughout the country and throughout the world. It's been progressing, and as global warming progresses, there's been issues as far as water needs increasing and biology progressing north because of climate change. And this is one methodology that we've seen have a really good impact as far as water preservation as well as crop yield increase. This is just a sample of our project we have out in Grafton on Knowlton Farms. This is actually the first release project that we've done that's entering construction a little bit later this year.
How big is that one?
So there's a 336 kilowatt sort of smaller portion to the north, and then there's about a 2.5, 3 megawatt portion on the south.
So how many panels?
The number of panels, I can calculate that real quick. I believe that they are 400 watt panels. So if we say it is 3 megawatts, roughly, then that's 7,500 panels.
Thank you.
So brings us to our Oak Street project, just getting a little more specific. This is a sample of the design. We have Oak Street running north to south here. There's an existing access path back to the currently cleared fields in this portion, and then it would be extended down to the south to allow the roads just to continue in a continuous manner. The fire department in Douglas has expressed that they like to see ring roads around the project for very simple access. If someone were to fall and hurt themselves, they want to be able to just drive right in, no problem with the turnouts. And Jeff, if you'd like, you could give a sample overview. There was, during the ANRAD hearing, there were some concerns expressed about the hydrologic features on the site. So Jeff's been working over the past few weeks designing the stormwater management system.
Thanks, Matt. Again, I'm Jeff Murphy with Fields and Thomas, civil engineer, working on this project. We understand kind of the biggest hurdle to deal with on this project is managing stormwater runoff. The existing site, as many of you know, is a hill with a ridge line kind of running in a north-south direction. So we have water kind of radiating in all directions. So we've designed 5 stormwater basins to capture runoff as well as swales to basically capture runoff from all areas of the solar array. And we've been diligently working to make sure that that design is going to significantly reduce runoff from the site and mitigate things from the project.
Yeah, and one of the key things, just to help, I know it's kind of hard to look at it and understand the impact that a basin may have. So just to put things in context a little bit, Massachusetts state regs, their standard is that during a 100-year storm, if you are to change the landscape in any way, they don't want you to increase the rate at which stormwater flows off during the 100-year storm. The basins that Jeff has designed, even during the 100-year storm, over 7-inch rainfall, at a lot of these points, the rate at which stormwater is flowing off-site has been halved. So we see that there's existing concerns, and we want to really build in a factor of safety. And there's schools of thought where you may want to get more aggressive, make sure you can have as many panels as possible, but we really want to give Jeff free rein to make this as conservative as possible. You guys have a great admin in town, Bill Cundiff, who told us at the start of this, be conservative on stormwater. I don't want to have any doubt in my mind that this thing's designed properly. So Jeff has been taking a little more time to really crunch the numbers, and we've been really happy to see what he's come up with. And if there's any more in-depth questions with that, we'd be happy to go into it. Before we continue, I'd also like to point out that we did bring snacks in the back, and those are going to be coming home with us if people don't want to help out with it, so please help yourselves. Just to give some current status on the project, it is intended to be 3.82 megawatts DC.
Would you repeat that again, please?
So that is 3.82 megawatts DC. That's with standard module assumptions. Is really that's something that is just a combination of the nameplate rating of the modules. Modules are always getting more and more efficient, so it's easier to fit greater capacity in the same amount of space that you use. The modules these days we've seen them almost double in efficiency compared to some of the previous versions. The permitting status is that we are going through an ANRAD process right now. So on the 3rd, we hope to bring in Art Allen, who was the peer reviewer with the town, just to confirm the wetland line, at which point we will then be looking to finalize our submission to the planning board. We'll be hoping to go to the planning board hearing on the 25th, where we'll be discussing with them all of the zoning implications, and then there will also be a Conservation Commission hearing following that. So all those hearings will be public hearings, and all of others will be made aware through a mail. And the tax agreement, as we mentioned before, that's something that we coordinate with the assessors a little bit closer towards project completion. And that's just saying that the town assessor, they don't necessarily need to reassess this property and figure out the taxes for it every year. To make it simpler, a lot of these projects do what is called a pilot structure, a payment in lieu of taxes, which means there's a certain number of dollars that are just paid to the town on an annual basis so that they can say, here's the consistent revenue we can count upon, rather than reevaluating. Samples in the past, those range anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a megawatt. And then, as far as construction goes, we wouldn't estimate that to start until the beginning of next year, depending on how permitting work progresses. So we've gone over some of the financial impacts, environmental impacts. I believe we're all aware, and we're happy to go into this conversation a bit more. But this, the energy that this array will be producing is equivalent to the energy that would be made by releasing 3,500 metric tons of carbon dioxide. That's just using the DEP standard rule of thumb, where they look at how much in our fossil fuel burning facilities needs to be produced per kilowatt hour. And they just say, we no longer need to produce the amount that this array will be generating. So in summary, we want to just show you that this is the intent of a lot of BlueWave's arrays. We would love to continue the A operation as it stands today, and increase it, likely make it better, put some more structure behind it, and some more space and consistency. We'll be submitting our proposals with Fields and Thomas in the coming weeks, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all as we get into the public hearings. But if there's any questions about any of those topics we'd love to discuss.
You showed the rows of the arrays running north and south, but obviously the arrays face south, panels face south, way back at the beginning.
I see what you're saying. Yep, so the standard array setup, you're correct, is a fixed tilt array where the sun is east to west, but we're in the northern hemisphere, so the panels will be facing to the south, correct? This is actually a single axis tracker setup where the rows, I'll show them right here.
That one, yeah.
The rows do run north-south, and they're spaced, the center on center, about 22 feet apart. And then as the sun is in the east, they're all tilted to the east, and it's called single axis tracker, which means just along the center axis. They tilt as the day progresses, and they follow the sun. That allows this to produce more energy in the same footprint. Hi.
Can you just explain kind of the perimeter, what exactly that is? Is that where the basins would be? And, you know, I know you'll have some fencing, but it looks like we're going to very easily be able to see this from our house, so.
I'm sorry, in which house are you?
Southwest corner.
This house
Yep.
right here? Yep, so after you get through this vegetation into this area, the fence line is outside of the basin in this circumstance. So there's a fair amount of vegetation that would stay on the property, followed by basin area, and then you have the access road and panels. We could pull that dimension pretty easily by Jeff if we want to get that. But one thing that we've been looking into more recently is that as far as tree clearing goes, you only really need to cut the trees that are sort of threat to reduction, I would say. So trees that have shading implications, really. So when you're close to the array, if these panels are, say, 10 feet high, then you would need anything that's 5 feet away, you would need to cut a 15-foot tree. But if you're 20 feet away, you don't need to cut that tree anymore. So it sort of turns into a slope where the farther away you go, the more vegetation you keep. So even as we show the tree line right here, there's plenty of low growth vegetation that we do like to keep it.
Slope of about maybe 42 degrees perhaps, I would say. So, I mean, is the trees,
Oh, you're saying the slope of the terrain here?
no, this is,
Or the slope of the shadow?
yeah.
That's correct.
So, that means the trees along that perimeter still can't be terribly tall, maybe 50 feet tops.
Yeah, about if you're, so 42, pretty close to 45 degrees, so I would say it's about a 1-to-1 ratio for
Yeah.
distance to height. So at that point, yeah, if you're looking at, I don't know, if you're looking at 50 feet away, then a 50-foot tree would be a pretty fair rule of thumb. The trees out there, we were on site today, were probably 50 to 60-foot range.
But their property is mostly behind the arrays, isn't it? As opposed to where the sun's coming from.
Right.
So it should be less of an issue of cutting or trimming in that direction.
So,
The sun's coming from where my property is in Sutton
yeah,
mostly.
the east and the
And
west.
they're on the other side of they're behind that section of array. A little bit to the side, but mostly behind.
I'm in the south,
Well, so the house is located here, but also what we can look into there is if there are sort of, just looking at the forest today, it looked like it was, you could probably see through 50 feet of trees pretty clearly because it's not
Much more.
very
Oh, yeah,
vegetated right now.
We can see the back line of the property from our house, so we can
Yes,
see
because you-
beyond that.
because you put
So we can
flags up
see those
there.
little orange markers.
We can see the orange flags very clearly.
Oh, the markers associated with the wetlands here?
No.
That back
The
line of
surveyor's
property,
markers.
Surveyor's brought,
Okay, saying more along this area.
yeah.
Okay. So another thing we're looking into there is vegetative screening, where we just plant lower growth but more dense vegetation in particular areas if so desired. We'd be more than happy to come back with, for the actual planning board submission, we could show like 2 or 3 rows of pretty dense. What would you recommend, do you think? Because I know some concerns we have would be deer.
Not arborvitae.
Not arborvitae. Okay.
Some juniper type.
Okay. Yeah, we'd be happy to look into that and show you guys maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be seeing it when we first talked to you guys. You said, you definitely won't see it. It's going to be way up here where the cleared areas are, and you're way beyond
Yeah,
that.
because this is
So
much bigger than
You're taking up that whole area, so.
that's a much bigger array than was on the plan I saw last time.
Okay. The plan so the ANRAD plan that you saw last time?
I don't know, I saw something last month.
Okay.
It didn't extend that far south on that plan.
We have also been looking at extending areas as we've been doing the design of the basin work, because as you're chasing the slope, sometimes the basin positioning shifts things around because it's a little bit more in progress. But now that that's been fully engineered, now it comes back to tweaking things like that. You can look into that corner, absolutely.
I mean, we're all for this project. We just,
We're probably the closest
Yeah.
house to this.
and definitely the closest house to it. So, we don't want to have a reduction in our property values, and we don't want to have aesthetic issues. We just moved in there.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. So one thing, there'll be the grading associated with the basin, so we can look into how that impacts things, but we'll also check out some vegetation in that area. I think that's a fair point. That area in particular, we'll take a look at this distance and go on site, potentially check out the distance through which you can see the trees. In worst cases, we'll assume we have a winter. Okay. Hi.
Right. So I own the field on the north side, and I'm looking at your right,
Sorry
yeah,
there.
right. So you're really close to the bound compared to on the south side. So there is the tree line, but it's really, why isn't there more of a buffer?
So on the north side, typically we're a little bit less concerned with shading implications on the northern side. So the panels themselves, is this concern regarding the panels or in regards to like the basin area and the road?
Yeah, and the road.
Okay, so the roadway, it's just by fire department request to be further outside the panels. But as far as extending to the north, wasn't too much clearing beyond the actual cleared fields in the northern section right now. So we were hoping to actually just take advantage of the area that's pretty easily attainable. Is there a residency with screening concerns in that area?
Well, yeah, but further across the field, there's a house. It's my daughter's. Plus, we have our cattle in that field in the summer, in the good weather. They spend most of the summer in that field, which again, it's other things too. Are you using any pesticides, so forth? It doesn't look like it, but I just want it reaffirmed.
Yeah, so as far as panel cleaning goes, we just allow rainwater cleaning, and then pesticides, herbicides, we just use natural vegetation so that none of that's required. And then if you'd like to go into maybe sort of the agricultural practices we use to make sure.
Yes. So, well, are you certified organic?
No.
Okay.
We raise
I'm
beef
asking because we were talking about the chestnuts.
Yes.
So from a management perspective, you owning a farm too, best management practices, whatever UMass allows for best management practices, that's what's planned. It's not organic, it's not going to be certified.
Right.
There will be, from an agricultural perspective, you don't want to hamstring yourself and commit to, well, I'm not going to use any pesticides. Well, that's not realistic to do if you're looking for.
But we don't,
Sure.
because our cattle are over there,
Right. So-
and we like all natural,
Which is fine.
and we cut the fields.
Sure. So this is planned to be a hay operation. There's not a lot of spraying that goes on with a hay operation. But it may change. Like, it could be a cattle operation. It could be vegetables in the future. You know, as the idea is, you have to keep this agriculturally viable for 20 years. And as you know, prices go up and down
Yep.
in every different commodity. So from a perspective of, you know, if there were going to be pesticides used, a licensed pesticide applicator would be the one putting them on. There's general maintenance along the field edges, right, as you normally cut. For hay, you know, my hay fields, I don't put anything on them. I try to use organic fertilizer, but I do use chemically derived petroleum product fertilizers because they're cheaper. So those would probably be used. I mean, it's a farm. It's a farm now that's not going to be a whole lot more different than what's being applied now, because you want to keep it viable for the future. I'm seeing that you don't like that answer.
I do.
No, I want to hear it from them, Mike.
Yeah, I know,
Thank
but
you.
I can say something on it
Yeah,
too.
after.
Yeah.
But no, we are concerned because I don't believe that stuff is put on there except maybe some lime. But I don't, on that field, I have no idea. I only know what we do with ours, and we are going to be liming it. But I just don't like the idea of that's any pesticides blowing over, and we do get a wind.
And so I farm, right? I'm a consultant and I farm. And any farmer is going to say to any other farmer, like, you know, you don't really want to have drift. But if you follow best management practices and you apply at night or in the morning when it's calm, you don't do it before it's going to rain, like you follow all those practices, that's best management practices.
Yeah.
To commit to something beyond that, if you're not going to certify organic, would be disingenuous, right? Because you're hamstringing that agricultural operation from being viable and being able to change. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not fighting on that. I myself am an organic producer, but from a long-term perspective, it's not going to be certified organic. They'll follow best management practices, and if there's, I mean, from a water perspective and a soil perspective, you don't want your soil going off site. You don't want drift to happen.
True.
So there's part of what BlueWave is about is making sure that the agricultural assets underneath these arrays are well managed, right? So that has to do with the producer, the person that's doing them, and the person that's overseeing them. If the gentleman that's doing the hay retires or decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, someone else has to produce that or change the crop. And there may be an organic producer, there may be someone that's not, but they're okay to do that.
So who's responsible?
So who is responsible, maybe it's the same question, but who's responsible for doing the hay? BlueWave?
The farmer that's currently, we're discussing with the farmer that's currently haying. And so if the farmer that's currently haying, so BlueWave doesn't do farming. They're the first to
That's
say
why
that.
I'm asking.
That's why they hired me, to act as their liaison with the farmer. Working with MDAR, Mass Department of Agricultural Resources,
Yep.
is overseeing this project. Right? This is a dual-use project. It's a farm first, solar second. So the agricultural integrity, that's why I'm talking the way I am and trying to allow for that to be as diverse as possible, because it really needs to be diverse for 20 years. It has to stay a farm and it has to stay commercially viable. So that oversight is BlueWave is responsible for coordinating who that farmer is. There's a plan A, plan B, plan C, and there's succession planning that's involved with that for 20 years.
I'm not a farmer, but I know a little bit about hay. And it seems to me that it's going to make harvesting hay here significantly more difficult. And it's going to raise the cost of running that crop there. So, and hay is such a competitive market. I don't see how that can remain viable commercially.
Two ways. One is part of the benefit of having the array and constructed in the way it is. If there's no fencing there, There's trees that have grown in to the field, so this is actually a proactive,
Right, but you
plan.
still have to steer your tractor around all these posts, right? It's going to make it much more difficult to harvest it. You're going to be shading it so you can't dry the hay as easily.
Not necessarily. So I get
So
everything
how
you're
does that
saying is other farmers have, this is being good, these are good questions. And I'm not arguing that you're raising up good points. This is what MDR's concern is too. So we have to justify that what we're doing is actually agriculturally sound. One of the things that we found is that from based on research and based on farmers' best information, right, and what they're used to, is the shading, this shade is not static.
Oh, sure.
Because it's a single axis tractor, it moves throughout the day. So in actuality, and don't take my word for this, look at any solar array now, conventional, that's 3 feet off the ground. There's a lot of grass that's growing. Grass likes the shade more than it likes the sun.
You're going to be shading it the maximum amount possible because you're rotating it to keep the panel facing the sun the whole time. And more to the point, you've got to try and operate your equipment under these panels, okay?
Between the rows.
Right.
Yeah.
And, that means that there's a large piece of land around the poles that you probably can't harvest, right? There's going to be strips of land.
It depends on the farmer.
I mean, it just seems that hay is a spectacularly bad crop for this installation.
There's a farmer that's planning on doing this that we might disagree. He's already got a project that's gone through MDR, been vetted, and between the moisture that's allowed to be there, grass grows better with the moisture. So in the heat of the sun, he's thinking he's going to get a 4th cut, not just a 3rd cut, because of the actual shade and the moisture retention in the soil. So the short answer is none of us know 100% because not one of these has been built yet in this state. So they've been built other places. I'd be lying if I said it's going to work 100%. This is structured in such a way, in the state's wisdom, that they're putting the UMass Ag Extension, the Clean Energy Extension. There's a lot of people that are thinking about this they're trying to make it real. And there's farmers that are saying we're willing to take the risk. There's a whole document we have to put together justifying how this is going to stay viable. Let's say that the hay doesn't work. Well, it's going to grow grass. Why couldn't it be a pasture for cattle? It could very well be. We're saying it's hay because it's already hay. We're saying let's keep what's there, and if it's not agriculturally viable, which we think it will be, then we can switch.
Probably like, what, about 50% of that area is hay, right? So you're going to be making it much bigger in some ways.
And much more
That's
efficient.
what Shirley was getting at.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of hay that comes out of those fields, because they need to be fed.
From an agricultural perspective, and this again, I'm looking at it from a farming perspective. This is making this farm better because there's an influx of resources to make this work. The rocks are relocated. The trees in between that have been sprawling into the fields are gone. You've got nice long passes. Just the way that they're set up today is not efficient for hay.
Right.
Not with bigger equipment. So making that more rectangular, making that bigger, you're going to get probably what you might lose, you think you might lose, you're actually going to gain back just from a production level. So that,
Well, it's because you're using more land.
yeah, you're using the land that's there more efficiently. Is basically what we're trying to do.
So also back to the shading, that was actually a very intelligent shading point that not a lot of people have made, but what we've noticed is that with southern facing arrays, those are rows that run east to west. So picture north-south, east-west. If you have your rows standard east-west, the sun is also moving east to west. So when you have a shadow fall, it doesn't really change. So you have the row under your panels shaded most of the time, and then you have the space in between shaded very minimally. So it's less about the fact that the tractors move that makes the shadow move. It's the fact that since they're oriented north-south, you then have a shadow that's moving from the west side of the panels to the east side of the panels throughout the day. So part of the reason that this is single axis trackers is not only that it's more efficient from an energy production standpoint, but it provides a really much more homogeneous shade profile. You don't have deep shade and deep sun. You have a lot of areas that are getting the benefits of partial shade, like water preservation and tree shield. But then you also have a structure that allows you to have homogeneous growth rather than patches on and off.
How do they move?
The single axis trackers.
Yeah.
So you just have, it's fairly simple, so that you have the rod going into the ground, and then it's just, they're on the singular drive, sort of drive shaft that they're on. There's a piston. Some designs are pistons, other designs are gears, but they just start at the beginning of the day, and then it pushes one side up until the end of the day.
Does it make any noise?
No, it's happening at the speed that the sun's moving across the sky, so it's very minimal.
They can still make noise.
This is driven by electric motor, hydraulic, or,
There are different designs.
okay, and you don't know what you're gonna be in.
No, it's not for sure. Yeah,
But basically, it's, instead of like with the lower rays where there's a frame, 4 posts sitting, around the edge, this is gonna have just a single pole up the middle, and then everything rotates on that. So there's a lot, I'm just trying.
That's a little bit more like a dual axis tracker. where
Okay.
You have one pole, the other panel, and that panel's always perpendicular to the sun.
Yeah.
Those aren't really ideal for the northeast just because you gotta space them out a whole lot and there's snow concerns and all that.
Okay.
Here we found that single axis trackers work a lot better.
You have a picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the agricultural arrangement is for a 20-year period? What happens after that 20-year period? We all move out.
Well, that's not just for the agricultural, it's usually a solar agreement, right?
Generally, the lease
Yeah.
timeframe is 20 to 30 years.
Yeah. It's still Susan's land.
Ah, it's an LLC,
Well, yeah.
which isn't registered with the
LLC.
Secretary of State. The LLC. That's who took out the,
Susan's land.
it says, the notice we got was from LLC. The BWC Whiten Reservoir LLC.
Correct.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me either.
And it isn't registered with the Secretary of State.
So the way it functions is that, I guess, approaching both questions by internets.
I'm sorry?
Have a little bit of trouble with the internet, so that's just taking a minute to get up there. But first off, it's just the concern around decommissioning. The decommissioning is that this is an active agricultural project, and then a decommissioning bond is posted with the town prior to a certificate of completion being issued. So this project isn't allowed to operate until there's a bond posted with the town. That will make sure that even if, worst case scenario, the owner of this project were to go poof, there's funds sitting with the town in order to decommission it appropriately. But the expectation is that you have a long-term asset owner that's very invested in this project and needs to make sure that their return is protected. And that's why they would be there. We haven't seen a case where they would just leave. That being said, we do continue to post decommissioning bonds just so that people have the confidence that they don't plan on forcing anything necessary. Regarding the LLC structure, BWC Holdings is our employer, that is BlueWave Solar, and there are entities associated with each project. So this project, BWC with Reservoir, it's a sub-entity of BWC Holdings.
So is that going to be registered with the Secretary of State?
It will be correct. Yes.
Is this property still going to be in 61A?
So that's actually an interesting point because when you do change the use, technically you have to remove it from 61A.
Right.
So BlueWave, we as a standard practice, we cover to our landowners any increase in taxes associated with that, like something like the removal of Chapter 61A. But from a more macro perspective, you have the state incentivizing agricultural operations,
Yep.
providing tax breaks. one of the portions of dual use is that you have the state incentivizing solar and you have the state incentivizing agriculture. There's no double dipping on here. By providing the landowner with levelized lease income, that makes up for the loss of Chapter 61A, and the state no longer has to incentivize it in that way. Solar projects that are participating and very fully paying their taxes.
So from a tax standpoint, so it's, even though it's still it's still going to be used for agriculture,
You will not get the tax benefit.
it
of
won't get the,
agriculture.
so you will pay taxes on this land as if it, just like any other housing land in the town?
So as far as property tax goes,
Yes.
if the property were to be valued more because of this, then we pay for the increase in taxes over them today. So BlueWave covers that. But additionally, there's a tax associated with the asset itself. That's where the pilot comes in. That's where you have us, rather than having the town assessor go out every year and reassess how this should be appropriately taxed. We agree to a tax number early on so that they can simply say, this project pays the town $40,000 every year in taxes.
So everybody will know that up front ahead of time.
Yeah, so before we gain, I believe this is how Douglas operates, is what we see most frequently, is that before we have the authority to negotiate with the Board of Selectmen, that will have to go to town meeting for the Board of Selectmen to be granted the right to enter into an agreement.
Do you have to build like a little substation there?
So there are utility upgrades associated with this project. This project will actually be, there's not currently, I would say, sturdy enough electrical infrastructure.
Yeah, you don't have a three-wire.
Yeah, we don't, so without three-phase in the area, we'll actually be upgrading Oak Street to three-phase and a little more to the north so that we can get it to the substation. There's an existing substation to tie into that handles this capacity and puts it on the distributed network. But as far
Could you use the microphone again, because they're trying
apparently,
to record?
yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's being captured.
Plus the heat or something is on, so.
Okay. Yeah, but there will not be a substation required, but there will be upgrades to the existing system just to make it a little more sturdy. We see this a lot, not necessarily here, but we'll see it in more so further west Massachusetts, where there's a lot of areas that just don't have appropriate infrastructure, and sometimes there's not as many businesses in that area because there's not the appropriate infrastructure, and there's not the appropriate infrastructure because there's not the appropriate tax base for it. So it's sort of an interesting vicious cycle that develops. We've seen these come in and be a really good means of breaking that vicious cycle. And, in a place like Douglas, it's not as applicable, but it is still an upgrade to the system that you can expect.
So to clarify, at your expense, National Grid is going to install three-phase to
Correct.
connect from the output of the solar arrays to the substation.
Correct. And
then
I'm not an electrical engineer, so I know that
very high level.
there are additional features that they also add.
Oh,
But yes,
yeah,
there will be.
well, they'll have cutoffs and SCADA and all kinds of stuff in there, but basically, that's in addition to the existing infrastructure that your houses are currently connected to. That won't change, although some of the poles may be upgraded because the three-phase, they may have to put taller poles to handle the three-phase. But you guys stay on, so I'm not on Oak Street, but, so you guys, okay. So, you know, but that substation then feeds back to the housing.
Yeah, and then, so given that that energy is going to the substation and being distributed across the entire utility, that is why all members of National Grid are applicable in terms of participating in the community solar aspect.
You know where that substation is?
I do. It is to the northwest. I just don't have the exact.
You going into Sutton? Are you
Manchog?
going into Manchog, or the only other three phases, the water slides is where the line stops coming into town, or you gotta go out to the mill. So you go one way or the other. That's it. If you're going to the north, then you're going to the mill.
We are going to the north.
Okay, so the
You're going to the
substation
north?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so then you're going to the mill.
Right, but is the substation at the mill, or is the substation actually down behind Walmart?
question? Because that's.
I think the three-phase feeds from down.
I think it comes up Whiting's Road,
Yeah.
and then,
Okay.
so they've got to go to the mill. And then
Yeah,
they
right.
just
Well, they'll
tap in.
connect to the three-phase at the mill, which will then carry it to
They
the
take it down to the
substation, which I
south.
think is behind Walmart in
Yeah.
Whitensville.
Yeah.
And we know the
Yeah.
exact route that it travels. I don't have it written out right now.
No,
but I'd
we,
be happy to
I
provide
think we're all pretty sure that's what it is. But here, there's nothing, it's not like the substation is quote, close. It's,
To them, it's close.
yeah, it's a good 5 miles.
It's close.
Yeah,
Compared to most areas, it's close.
yeah. So from my house, it's 5 miles, 6 miles to Walmart to where the substation is. 146 and exit 5.
Hi.
So, getting back to the north side of the site, so first of all, is there going to be fencing all around this site?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so then how about lighting? Are you going to have lighting up there?
No, so there's no need to light these facilities. They're just self-sufficient. There's no light at night. And then as far as fencing goes, we do have to have fence per electric safety code.
Sure.
But we also raise it 6 to 8 inches off the ground to allow for, convenient.
Small wildlife and-
Is there fencing going down the road as well?
No, so this will all continue as it currently is. The fence line is currently planned to be right here, and there's a Knox box which allows for any emergency access.
So, could we get to the road? You laughed.
I know, I'm not.
I've run
I'm
out
kicking
on
back, I
that
know.
road too many
I'm
times
just waiting. Go
to
ahead.
address
Yeah.
people that have had an accident. You may not think so.
They have to take that corner out.
You've got to do something about that corner,
Yep,
I'm sorry, you were referring to this one?
right there, your access.
right on Oak
Oak
Street.
Street.
Right on Oak Street
Oh, you're
as you
saying
come
right
out. I mean, yeah, if you're not going to have a lot of traffic in and out of there once the project is built, but while you're building it, it's not pretty.
Especially in the summer.
Especially in the summer. Yeah.
Especially in the summer, there's 2 campgrounds towards the north, one in Douglas and then one in Sutton. And there's at least, the population increases about 1,000 people. And they live there and travel back and forth to work during the summer.
Okay, so part of the planning board application process, it's something that we very frequently pull together, and Jeff can speak to this if you want to get into a little bit more.
And the speed on that road, believe it or not, they think it's a country road and they can travel.
You guys need to stop paving it, just let the potholes get deep.
But go ahead,
I was
Mike.
gonna jump in on that. We're gonna, on planning board, when you come in front of us, we're gonna mandate line of sight on that corner, because it's bad. Number 2, it's a scenic road and there's still stone wall there.
Yes.
You're gonna be moving the stone wall to get an entrance, because otherwise you are not getting a trailer on that road, period. The other thing you have to do, you're gonna have to cut that hill down, going into that field. There's no truck or trailer is gonna go up that knoll with a lowboy or a trailer. That's a definite. So before you come in front of us in February, have your line of sight and have your stats
Yeah. happy to
set up in
address
that
those.
corner.
Yeah, one by one.
It's fine right now, but once the foliage gets on, it's a blind corner.
And you
All you
can,
have to do is look across the street and you'll see the trees with the marks,
yeah,
so they kiss them in that area.
yeah.
But your line of sight's gonna be big.
Yeah, and
When
we
you come in
want-
front of us, that's gonna be a big deal.
And yeah, we want to address that and make sure it's appropriate. So just to be clear, we do have to reflect this isn't set in stone right here. It's the carbon point, so we kind of feel like it would be the best point to expand it, but if.
Well, the stone, the
we
thing
are
is with
having to move
the,
it.
I mean, you're gonna have to get a permit to move the stone.
Correct, we are.
So you already know that.
Yep.
The thing is, have a good plan on what you're gonna do with it. A lot of us will fix walls and stuff of that nature
Okay.
along the road, but give yourself enough opening to get in and out of there. Don't cut yourself short.
Yeah.
You'll regret it if you do.
We definitely plan to extend that open.
The other thing, somewhere in there, normally they'll have is a gate with a lockbox, so that kids and stuff don't go flying up and down that road once you're all done.
So you're saying if you would prefer to have.
Somewhere down the bottom. Yeah, I know your entrance is gonna be up top, but I guarantee you're gonna ask for a gate, look at the other sites with a lockbox.
Happy to provide
The
that.
other thing on the chemicals, we have mandated on the other solar farms, 0 chemicals, period. We don't care, none at all. So expect that. Just letting you know.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Back on that. There's chemicals.
We had 2 other farms, we've done 3 farms. We've mandated no chemicals.
Have they continued to farm?
They have not continued to farm, but you can mow the grass without chemicals. They mow the farms. They mow the fields.
So from a...
Just cut them. I'm just letting you know, so you're prepared? I know what you're saying, but be prepared for the other, because that's the way we've done them in the past. So I'm just letting you be prepared for it.
Well,
Giving you a
according
heads
to
up.
them, that would be on the farmer, right?
No.
So from an agricultural perspective,
Yeah,
if you can't use pesticides of
Yeah.
any sort,
yeah.
you're hamstrung
How?
to stay viable.
How? They use cow manure to do the fields.
How much cow manure is there around? Is there a good supply?
Well, would you? Right?
Well, that's Whittier, but this is a...
This is a whole different deal. I'm just letting you know, because
I know, and that's what I'm...
because on the board, we're gonna listen to the neighbors more than you, so you know. And the neighbors, and I know the cattle, we all know the cattle run the fields. And right now Susan doesn't use chemicals up there, we know that. Yeah, somebody goes up, I think once in a while still cuts it, right?
I have no idea.
It's been a long time, I don't know if I've seen anybody come out.
So just as...
But just so you know, I'm just letting you know, and you're gonna do whatever you want, but I know the board you're going on, because I'm on it, and what we've done in the past. So just be prepared, both sides.
Yeah, and it's a good discussion to have.
Yeah.
And there's an educational component to this,
Yeah.
because this is different. It's dual use, it's ag with solar.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe there's some sort, maybe your daughter or you or your daughter want to, we're not married to hay. Hay is what's there now, and the gentleman that's there is interested in continuing to do that. As an abutter, if you said, I need to expand my production land, like I said, we have a succession plan. We're developing that.
Yeah.
We're developing the succession plan, and the Department of Agricultural Resources wants to see that. So if there's if your business plan says, I could use extra fields, let's talk, because that should be that could be part of the plan. Okay. But and so part of the reason for this to stay a farm, and we can talk about this more.
Yeah, it will be, don't worry, it'll be talked about more.
And our pasture, it's pasture for us, but we're going to try to improve the pasture. We're going to lime it, and then lime it again probably, because it's very depleted. We've done soil survey samples sent into UMass. They were supposed to lime it already, but the weather didn't cooperate. So, and that's just our field, my field, my daughter's. But it's pasture for the beef cattle. We have another field that we use for hay that's not in Douglas.
What I was suggesting was if you for pasture land, if it made sense as an abutter that you wanted to expand into this area, 5 acres, like that's okay. We can talk about that. You're saying no, but
The other thing I'm gonna get at, you're gonna be, how much acreage you cutting timber? We know the fields are up there, how much you cleaning out? And if so, you're gonna be de-stumping?
Within the unit.
Because if you're gonna be haying it, that means you're gonna be de-stumping that entire field area. And on the other farms, I don't think we allowed them to de-stump. We had them, they went all around that stuff. So, be set up both ways
But
on
there
that.
is areas up there, I'm sure, that because it hasn't been cut
I know, it's all fields,
properly,
yeah.
No, it's growth, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a lot of brush and, yeah.
But I'm just saying, on the south side, you're gonna be cutting all the timber down. So that means you're gonna be de-stumping. How much area you're gonna be de-stumping?
It's about 20 acres. That's
20 acres you're gonna de-stump?
correct.
So you're gonna forest it and de-stump it.
The plan is to convert that to an active agricultural area.
You're gonna grind it all there, grind it, and spread it all out, all on site? What's your goal?
Yeah, so what we've done a lot on other projects is we'll use the grindings from the stumps actually as a erosion control measure during construction. It works great, so we'll use basically berms along the contour of the slope to basically just break up the flow as a temporary measure until grass can establish itself.
So you de-stump, are you gonna be bringing in material? How are you gonna grade it all out? You bringing in, or are you hauling out? What's gonna be going on now? Because while you do it, you're gonna have all exposed earth. So, are you bringing in material? What are you gonna be doing there? Because you take out 20 acres of stumps, you got some holes.
Yeah.
Or you bring it in big iron and changing the whole contour of the land, what are you gonna?
There's grading required for the basin area.
Huh?
There's grading required for the basin
Yeah,
area.
yeah, I
right
know
there.
that.
So there's going to be some material that's going to be needed for that.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about where you're taking the stumps out. Are you gonna be pushing it all? I mean, what's your goal after you de-stump it?
Yeah, after it's de-stumped, then it's levelized, so that can be an operational field.
Okay. So you're not
So
gonna be
it's
bringing in any material?
So it's sort of flattened out. There may be material brought in. We have to sort of run the calculations associated with that.
Just saying, you're gonna have to know.
Yep. No, we'll have all that.
You know, I've met you before, you came in front of us. And those are things that we're gonna wanna know. If you're changing contour and you're moving stumps and you're bringing in, now you're changing the slope and grade of the property. Now you're changing your water table and all your calcs. Because what you're going off now, after you de-stump it, it's gonna change it.
Yeah, anything within the area for tree clearing, it wouldn't be disturbed to the degree of changing like the contour lines right now.
You're right now.
As far as the contour lines as they stand and the sub-catchments
Okay.
associated with the calculations, the clearing and the flattening associated with that,
Right.
it's not flattening like table flattening. It's
No, I know,
smoothing out.
but I'm just saying though, but you're still changing it. It's not what it is right now. So it will be changed.
in the little pockets associated with
So
that. But
it's changed.
it will be,
Yeah.
yes, a different landscape, but as far as impact on a sub-catchment.
Right. Now, you say you won't start until maybe next year? So in reality, the solar field maybe won't grow in size, but the KW output will grow, because as the panels become more efficient, it could become a larger producing field, correct?
If currently the panels shown are 400 watt modules.
Right, but in a year from now, it
It would-
could be different.
That's what they're replacing.
On the module size
Yeah.
that's available in the market at that time, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So functionally, what happens in 20 years? Someone said something about decommissioning planning.
Yeah.
What
So,
does that mean to you?
yeah, in 20 years, I mean, it's expected that these systems last for more than 20 years. It's expected that they've reached the end of their 20-year life cycle, and then they're still operating in a healthy manner, and they continue to provide energy to the grid at that point. If it did get to the point where the project needed to be taken down for some reason, maybe land is sold to a landowner that in 30 years doesn't want to re-up and continue. At that point, then it would be decommissioned through the owner of the project. So the owner would come in, collect the value of the material. and
So what
clear it.
happens, hypothetically, if, the price of electricity and your tax incentives change such that this project is no longer economically feasible in 10 years? What do you do?
So the rate that this is supported with is fairly levelized by the state. It's used projections at where electricity is going, but it's sort of
So you're just saying that won't happen
no. It's more so that it's protected from that happening. It's
contractually?
through the state that the existing program is structured in a way where the payment structure is guaranteed for 20 years.
So is that in Mass General Law, or is that,
That's
or
a
is that
Massachusetts-
regulations?
That's a Massachusetts program.
Yeah, okay. Wait,
Program,
but is it a program under the law? In this state?
It is-
We
it's a
have
regulation.
MGLs,
It is
Mass
actually-
General
it is,
Law.
yes.
And then they hand it off to the bureaucrats, who then create the regulatory around it. Okay, and then a lot of things get created in regulation that never had, so what I'm asking is these this is all in CPL, I think is what it's called, regulation as opposed to the MGH for all this levelizing of,
Yeah, sorry, that was CMR.
yeah, CMR, that's, I'm
It's a
sorry,
CMR, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And so we are pretty strict on the board on that bond. We make sure there's some coin there.
Yeah.
On the other ones, big time. If anybody ever backs out or anything, there's more than enough.
Okay. That's
And
what-
Bill always goes over that more than once.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they try to lowball and we don't take it. We make sure there's bond, there's money there. Yeah, so if they walked away or whatever, it can be removed.
Okay, good.
Do you have a rough rate you'd like us to come in with?
No, that, you gotta talk to Bill on that.
Okay.
Talk to Bill. I don't know, I forget the exact digits, but talk to Bill.
But also, you could try to reach an agreement to extend it for 20 years, if it's still, right?
But we're not the landowners. It's not up to
I
us.
know, but I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, that would be, yeah, it's written up where, at the end of the term or whatever.
Yeah,
I forget the exact terminology that Bill works about that, yeah. Then it could keep on going, and then if cost of taking it apart is higher, then it'll be reevaluated and go from there.
So what's the operating lifespan of one of these panels?
Yeah,
So
so-
like how often do they need to be replaced?
Right before I get to that, just on the re-upping side, one of the things that these projects haven't been in the ground for 20 years in Massachusetts, and some of the first projects were about 10 years ago. But it's expected that a lot of people who put projects in 10 years ago would call them 200, 250 watt modules. They'll get to the end of their life and they'll say, why wouldn't I just put on the 500 watt modules that are available today? It sort of makes all sense in the world to just re-up it at that point. But that's an evaluation that
Yeah,
I
down
can't
the
say it's
line.
gonna happen in 20 years. At that
Who
point.
knows, 20 years, don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm sorry, the question was in regard to panel life?
Yes.
Yeah, so these panels are, I mean, we always use tier 1 modules, and these are, maybe if something were to hit them, you would have a replacement, but they're not going out. They're 20 years is a standard lifespan.
Where do you deposit them when they're done?
So right now, actually, this was a research project I did, and there's a whole way to look into where electronics are currently recycled. These have value because they're electrical components, so the consideration is that between all the steel associated with the racking and the modules and the wiring itself, that would be valuable to reclaim. But the project hasn't really been decommissioned yet to see it. It's likely that since a lot of these projects are going in at the same time, a lot of them will be coming out of their lifespan at the same time, at which point I would expect there to be a market opening up there for reclaiming these materials and gaining that value. I think a lot of long-term asset owners are sort of planning on that in year 20 or 30 when they say, oh, I want to decommission. There's also going to be a nice little bump up for reclaiming all this material. But
So currently, although most of these projects, 10 years, there's quite a bit of rooftop residential solar with a fair amount of failures. At least if you look at the fire station in Manchok and look at the roof. So people are having to dispose of solar panels today and have been. So what do they do? Is it has to go to a hazmat type disposal? Because it's
Yeah,
silicon, it's toxic.
sometimes they not
just throw it in the
toxic,
dump.
but
What?
correct, not thrown in the dump. But no, there are facilities to manage that. Sometimes in decommissioning also, there's explicit statements saying that this has to be put in a certain recycling pathway.
There are a few recycling plants for solar panels in the state, or in the United States, but it's not a huge enough market right
Right,
now
well,
for
okay,
utility
but-
scale, but there are a few recycling plants.
But that's what you would do if something failed in the short term?
Yeah.
You'd be going to those places? Okay, that's,
Yeah, but as far as, I think with the way things are going, this project, for example, it's fairly significant upgrade costs for electrical infrastructure. Part of the reason, we've been talking to Susan for a long time about this, and she's been looking forward to it for a long time. We haven't been able to progress partially because the utility has had these problems where they first took a look to the south, and they just said, the amount you're going to need to upgrade to interconnect this, it would kill the project instantly.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were able to put together some really bright bunch of people on an engineering team to propose an idea that was a little more efficient, and but still, it's a significant investment in that regard, where the asset owner would be protecting their investment. It's someone that says, I'm putting a lot of money in up front, and I'm hoping that years from now I break even, and then further years it's profitable. But there's, you can trust A1 credit rated companies owning these that are very much protecting that investment, which is partially why you can also expect to have a very good neighbor. Someone that's managing that land has a high quality operations and maintenance sort of staff.
How far are they going to go with the three-phase? They're going to stop it at the road, or they're going to interconnect from one right to the slides?
Douglas is currently in a ASO study. It's sort of like a cluster study with the utility.
Trying to make it a loop?
Yeah, they're sort of looking at it on a macro scale.
Yeah.
It's the most efficient way.
Yeah, because it's right down the street, really.
Yeah, so they
It's
haven't
closer than going.
finalized it.
Yeah, it's right at the water, like I said, at the water slide.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we could just get them to put a loop up Torrey Road,
yeah.
come down Birch and Torrey.
Put in some solar panels?
Actually, all ones I can do, Sutton has donated, I can't.
Yeah.
But you said Douglas is looking into it? Who is, Selectman?
Sorry, so National Grid in like the Douglas area, it's
Yeah.
saying this area, they don't mind as much about.
Mention it. When do you have a meeting with Bill? When do you have your next meeting with Bill Cundiff?
The submission for.
You're coming up for planning board, so you must be talking with him.
Yeah, so the 25th is when we'll officially be meeting with the board, but
You
you
should
may speak to him before that.
Bring that up to Bill about looping three-phase, where it's right down the street.
Okay.
Because I know, like with water and all that stuff, when stuff's close, we'll try to loop it, keep
Yeah.
it all uniform going through the town.
Trying to make it efficient.
So it'd be something where it's not, we're not talking mileage, we're talking down the road. So it might be something where he might be able to also work.
That's
talking
in
with
their
National
interest
Grid.
too, because it
Huh?
improves their reliability. If they
Yeah.
can't get their
Well,
electricity
that's
to
all the way
market, what are
away,
they
yeah.
gonna do?
So, something to think about,
Yeah, absolutely.
making a loop.
But, sorry.
Just circle back to tree clearing quickly. I own the property to the left of your road,
Okay, so this house right here.
Correct.
Yes.
and I've always known my back boundary to be tree line, and then it was the fields, and that was the general divider. I'm seeing ribbons go through my property about 200 feet in towards Oak Street. I don't know what they're for, why they're there. But are you guys planning to stop at that tree line, or are you thinking you're coming in further?
So the tree line, we show the tree line along the property boundary right now.
Yeah.
But as far as where the existing tree line falls relative to.
Yeah,
where
within,
the
I'm not
property
talking down
boundary-
to the
Yeah.
foot, but
Yeah.
I,
Jeff, could you maybe speak, was it a survey team that went out there?
Because I saw
Were they surveying
flags
the property boundary
running
itself? or-
right here, about 200 feet back.
Yeah, so they did a full boundary survey of the property, which means that they located all of the, monumentation that's out there. So the flags you saw may have been marking out, or a traverse point or something that the surveyors were using when they were doing their survey of the boundary.
Okay.
But I also understand that that land was subdivided off of this, correct?
Correct.
So, if you think that there's any sort of discrepancy between like the record conditions plan here.
If you're not coming into the tree line by a lot, then I'm fine, but if you are coming in 200 feet, we would have to figure that out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we would never encroach off the student's property, but also have to look into that and see where it falls.
Your son to have a hard pin down that corner, so you know.
You guys are going back up there to do more surveying at some point?
Yeah.
Or are you done?
Not, we're still
Far
waiting
from
on
done,
this.
yeah.
One thing I don't like is the orange spray on my stone walls.
Orange spray on stone walls?
That may have been something when the surveyors found found something, they may have painted it to say, okay, this is where we reconned this area, now we need to come back and actually locate it. So that may be, typically they'll tie it to a ribbon or a flag. I can't
They did
speak on
both.
behalf of the surveyors.
Yeah, no, there is paint.
Well, we could always move the stones.
No, I don't.
But that'd be something to verify for the neighbors and the butters, and at certain points, maybe some hard pins, not just a wood stake, but a true hard pin.
Yeah, we've put
Then everybody knows. You know what I mean?
monumentation like that before.
I mean, you're already surveying it, so you put in a true hard pin, then everybody would know.
When the projects, go to construction, everything is laid out with
Yeah.
a survey instrument, total station, so it's exactly as it's depicted on the plan.
And that way you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yours is already hard pinned, I think.
Well, it's just,
Have it confirmed.
I don't know if it's accurate.
Right,
I don't know who put that there.
Andrews. Andrews did that one, did yours. They have a copy of it.
I can tell you that there were ribbons on our property on our side of the stone wall down the hill. So I know that a lot of those ribbons were way outside of the property line. So it's not an indication that they're going that far.
They were just marking pins, Dave.
Yeah,
I call them.
I know, that's what I was saying.
Great. Are there any other questions? Because we also, we can follow up with some additional information. We have a couple takeaways here. I specifically want to look into some view shed analyses and look into either screening or some reconfiguration associated with that, as well as a follow-up here. So we left a sign-in sheet, and if anyone that would like a follow-up could maybe leave some information on there, I'd be happy to get back to you. Otherwise, I'll leave some of my cards on this table if anything else comes up. It's got my cell phone number on it, so definitely feel free to reach out anytime. Are there any other questions or topics people would like a little bit more information on?
So you are going to follow up and take another look at that entry road on that corner?
Yeah, that seems like a great tip. Honestly, I think that's.
And the buffer on
do some view
And
shed
the
work
buffer
that.
on the north side, a little bit more of a buffer,
Take a look at it, yeah.
please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, like this area, pretty much, right? This
Yes,
thing right
yes.
here at the crest of the hill here.
The whole, right along, it's really close up there to the line.
Yep, this
The
area.
whole, no, the whole back.
The whole northern line.
Yeah, the whole thing. along.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there will be some minor modifications as to what goes into
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, tweaked.
But I think primarily the access road's a great point. I think we'll look into that and make sure we have everything covered, because also, it is flexible if it is desired to be moved. I think it's the most efficient use to just use what's already there, but
I understand,
if it's
but
preferred,
it's
we
not
are happy
that
to check out a better spot for us.
I think some of you people were up there tonight, and you parked, somebody was, and you walked up in.
Yeah, they were up there with us walking the line.
Okay, you don't park on that corner.
Oh, no, they were parked on our land.
No, this is Oak Street.
This was Oak Street.
You don't really park on Oak Street at all.
No. No.
I mean, it's that corner, then you get down the road, and by Mike's, it's another corner, and it's,
No, you guys will get it. I mean, you've been in front of us before.
Yeah.
We hammer out the stuff.
We're very cognizant of the site distance
Yeah.
here. That existing break in the wall and kind of car path starts about here, which is pretty much the worst spot you wanted, right on the curve. So
Yeah.
we've reconfigured it to kind of come into the road a little bit more perpendicular. But again, there is the option to try to rotate it out a little bit more, but we're just balancing out turning movements as well as trying to maximize site distance in this direction.
And it could also be fishtailed a little bit more.
I'm telling you,
That would already be shed
you
as
want to
well.
do something about that corner. You don't want it either side of that corner. I don't know how you're going to do
That's
it,
where it's sightline. They'll have to bring something in front of us.
because
Yeah.
you can put as many signs as you
That doesn't
want,
mean
blind
nothing.
driveway, whatever, dangerous corner.
Nobody reads
Feel less, that's right, they don't read them.
Okay, yeah.
I walk that
What
road
all-
every day.
How would you feel about, so right now, it's, Jeff, do you know off the top of your head how wide that is when it fully opens up at the road there?
Oh, right here?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking.
Not much.
As a potential solution to this, we could look into widening that more so that the corner, you could see through it a little bit better and get a better sight line.
Stay away from the corner completely.
Yeah, we'll do some analysis on
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I can tell you from what I ran into on Torrey Road, because it's so narrow like Oak Street, is we definitely had to widen the opening so that a couple tractor trailers coming in
Yeah.
with lumber could make the swing. And also so the fire trucks could get in there, the ladder could get in there in the future.
It would just make
On the,
that
in the
road
lower
straight
field there.
out, you know, instead of the
What do you got
curves.
going on right here? What's that? You know, what's-
Oh, this is a base, this is a stormwater basin here. It's
Okay,
a
so
berm.
what size is the road on? This here?
This is, the road comes right here.
Yeah, what's this here?
So,
Is that just a turnaround up?
They're never going to
Yeah,
get
the
it.
turnaround?
So, right now, we're trying to, again, we have this basin here. This basin is really, it's gonna basically attenuate a lot of the flow. It's gonna take all the runoff from this driveway here. And we're gonna be letting very little water out of that basin. But we're thinking we may use this as an infiltration trench to try to, we don't really want to have overland flow in this area. So what we may do is try to create an infiltration trench in that field.
That's a good
to try to
idea.
infiltrate the water.
There's a, in the melt off, you'll see in the field, there's an indent, but the water comes right through here.
Yeah.
It wants to go right across my driveway,
Right.
burned it out. First.
So yeah, we're trying to basically cut off that surface flow and try to get it to just go into the ground there. So that's what that is.
That's one of the things I really wanted to cover was, we had some great advice on the eastern edge as far as what the hydrological concerns are today. And please let us know because, this is a really good opportunity to have Jeff and his team do some analysis
Yep.
and work to not only keep the same, but improve it and fix it.
Yeah.
But again, water-wise, okay, so Jeff is right near that infiltration. Okay, but then there's another house. And there's water that comes in from that house area, and it goes into like a swale that's on my side.
I'm sorry,
It's
so you're saying
wet.
right outside.
You're talking about this house?
Correct.
Yep, so there's two culverts. One culvert here at the corner between these two lots. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two culverts. There's one culvert in this location. There's a catch basin grate right at the end of this driveway here. And then that discharges to kind of that little gap between the two fields here. And then there is the other culvert, which is further up here,
By your house.
which discharges into kind of the cow pasture over here.
That's the.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
we're basically keeping all the water from our project up here. We're not discharging anything. We've got a swale here, which is going to actually convey that flow down to this basin. So anything from this corner is basically getting redirected to our stormwater basin there. So
What season has
these
the-
two culverts are both design analysis points, and will be reducing flow to these properties both through our stormwater plan.
In what season has the analysis, this hydro analysis been done?
So it's not a seasonal thing, it's done by cover type, and it's done by storms, design storm events. Understanding that, that's how the model works. It's built on, gets into ground cover types. Wooded areas have produced less runoff than areas with grass. And we've accounted for that in our design. So we're designing basically for that finished condition, and these basins are basically mitigating for the stormwater runoff produced by the project, such that we're significantly reducing the amount of water that's leaving the project area during all storm events, going from the 2-year, the 10-year, 100-year,
Yeah, and when Jeff says the 100-year storm, that's upwards of 7 inches. So there's significant storms that you still see significant reductions in.
I hope you're right, but let me tell you, there's been times Oak Street is a river with rocks and boulders going down towards Lake Manchog.
We hope to help out as best.
I know Bill's gonna be tight on the numbers on this one. Because of, you know, on the road going up, that's a single cart path going up, one lane. Where you guys gonna have your staging area for equipment? Are you gonna have any turnabouts down in the bottom? So 2 vehicles meet? What are you having? What's going on down there? And going on the Oak Street, what kind of apron you having? You having a stone apron? You gonna have asphalt? What's your whole deal for an apron down there?
This is going to be a crushed stone tracking pad.
Yeah,
That's standard.
yeah,
That's
okay,
basically this whole dark area shaded here is going to be a tracking pad.
okay,
It's going to be a gravel road going in, 18 feet wide at the minimum, and widening out in the turns so that we run a turning analysis for basically a tractor trailer so I can get in there. So we're making that route in much more wider and more accessible.
okay, so during the construction, what, was it Northwest Main? They're putting the one in now? Like, where they have a staging area, all the equipment's all lined up and everything else, you guys just gonna have it all up in the field, all down below? Or you gonna have all the iron?
We're talking about West Street.
Yeah,
West Street.
West Street. All up in the top?
Yeah, but we can also include that in.
Have a spot in the prints in front of the planning board, they're gonna want it?
Right.
They're gonna wanna know where you're gonna do your refueling, so you know that.
Yep.
So you might have to have an area made out for a staging area.
Yeah, so a lot of that we've seen in the past come out in a NIPD's or a SWIP.
Yeah.
Those later stage construction plans.
Yeah.
But if you want to get sort of preliminary analysis of where that is intended to be, we can collect that.
Yeah, as long as you guys have that all laid out.
Yeah, we'll show something on the plan, have a note for it.
Yeah.
So we can speak to it with the planning board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to be clear, this before construction, there's those construction level permits that you have to come back before the town to get building permit or electrical permit. That's a little more stringent.
And that's what I was asking about on the road and stuff. I know it's not too relevant to a point, but let's say an accident does happen up there, where, let's say you have an ambulance trying to get out, somebody's trying to come up, there's gonna be a spot where vehicles, so one's not backing all the way back to the field, and the other one all the way down to Oak Street, or, I don't know what your game plan's gonna be there, so.
That's temporary turnaround, similar to what you see here, sort of up by that.
One there,
That's a temporary, for that
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
turnaround portion.
Yeah.
and one up there too?
Yeah,
Okay.
this will be almost like a temporary cul-de-sac area, so larger trucks can fit, turn around in here. And this area here is also really wide. I mean, you'd have
All
no
right.
problem passing 2 vehicles here. So opportunities to
All right.
work that in.
So have you given any thought to why not come straight out? And I'm not sure that would even help with the corner, but why the turn? Why not come straight out? Maybe the road's more open. I'm not sure where it would come out onto, but it's,
Yeah, the initial thought is to sort of widen and enhance the existing pathway.
that's the existing pathway, right?
Right.
Like that. And I understand, but safety-wise on that road,
You might have a better line of sight right at the corner, take the corner out. Is that what you're saying?
no, but I mean, instead of making that curve, I don't know, it would be,
She can't, the house is there. Susan's house is over there.
no,
No, who needs that?
No, where she was saying going over here, she was saying go over here.
oh, no, I mean, no. Is that on the same, I mean, is the house included in this project?
No.
No. Yes?
The house is not.
All right. So, no, I wouldn't even think that, but just to pull it right out, why the, corner and then come out on the corner. I don't know, the corner is the issue.
So you're looking at going down south of the
Oh, I see.
road?
So you're going here,
Yeah.
and coming right down here?
Yeah, but also probably, again, even then, have to take some of that corner out.
Yeah, they can't go straight.
We'll do a view shed analysis on that and see where they are on the corner. If there's a better design that makes that corner work, then we'd likely do that. But if that corner is found to not have sufficient view under any design circumstance, then yeah, we would need to look alongside of it. But as of right now, the plan is to just improve the existing situation.
There's a fire.
Yeah, there's a fire up there, a fire truck.
Well, you can't, you plan on having hay up there, right? You've got electrical equipment. If there's a field where to catch fire or something like that, how do you manage that? You can't just deal with it in a conventional way because of the electrical equipment. How's that work?
So you're saying if there were a spark and a hayfield?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of the same as it would be under a normal agricultural operation where it was the fire department at that point.
Is fire department going to be okay with spraying water on electrical equipment?
If not, then a lot of time we'll do more so just contain it.
But this stuff's all designed to be outdoors and in the rain. If they can, is there a problem with the fire department spraying water all over the solar panels?
A lot of times the fire department,
Well, but I'm just saying, let's say they did.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Or
It's not recommended because if there were a fire, that would mean that something wasn't right. I haven't seen any arrays on fire, but
Well, usually you don't have vegetation under them either, right? So,
a lot of the times you have to really have to
not that much, right? I mean, this grass could be pretty tall and dry, potentially.
Are you involved, there's a project, I believe, in Mendon where they have animals that eat the vegetation.
Yeah, that's our.
Yeah, Barneys or, yeah.
Get 50 goats, let them free, right?
No, not my,
There you go.
not me. Got two, that's enough.
they'll level everything.
Two ain't gonna cut the mustard.
No, I mean, and I understand what you're saying about the vegetation. We have that damn multiflora rose, and it's awful, and that's why, we got goats, but we need about 10 of them at least. But,
And we don't need Roundup either.
no,
And we don't need that whole site
we
being
won't
treated.
use it, but we keep trying to, get cut back on it. We had it all taken out once the birds don't help, and that's great. They just deposit the seeds and so.
So as of right now with COMCOM, you should be all set for the 3rd?
As far as just the approval of the wetland line.
That's gonna be
all
about
the
it?
is. I think that's about it, and then, go back to the Concom for
Yeah.
actual notice of intent.
Okay.
This is the design of the project.
Once the design's all set, but the initial COMCOM with the delineation should be all set, you think, on the 3rd? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when is the final design, if you're going to make some modifications or based on this discussion, when will that be produced and available?
So the application to the planning board is 3 weeks before the hearing, so, I think it's February 5th or something like that. So 3 weeks before February 25th, so that would be the full.
The final plan won't be until the planning board says it's final. So it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months, it could be whatever it takes. It could be a month, it all depends.
So the next iteration will be available on the 4th,
Yeah.
correct? The final plan, not until the planning board says so.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a good deal, just stay in the perimeters, and better than houses. I look at it.
And please, I would love to have some people take your card, and please do follow up, especially both our immediate neighbors. We really want, we're going to be your neighbors on this, so we want happy neighbors. We'll come back with some concepts.
And on the planning board meetings, please come, because they do listen.
Oh,
You
we'll
know,
be there.
I'm just saying, we will listen to you guys, so definitely, you know.
Nice having you guys.
Thank you.